This is CBS Sports HQ presented by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. It'll be a rematch of the SEC title game for college football's national championship on January the 10th. Both Alabama and Georgia rolling their opposition in the semifinals on Friday. It gives the Bulldogs a chance to avenge their 41-24 loss in the SEC Showcase and at the same time attempt to dethrone the reigning national champions. And despite getting beaten handily in the title game, Vegas likes the Bulldogs to avenge that loss. 2.5-point favorites when the line opened on Friday night. For more on the national title game, we welcome in Chip Patterson and Tom Fornelli from the Cover 3 podcast. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little surprised that Georgia's the favorite given what happened in the SEC title game, but I get it. They beat a Michigan team that was ranked higher than Cincinnati, so I mean, it makes sense. But when you're looking at this game, Chip, what's the approach and what's the pick?
John Mechie's absence, I think, is going to play a part in this. And one of the reasons why Georgia remains the favorite, though from a shorter number than they were heading into the SEC championship game. But I think that there was nothing that Alabama showed me in the win against Cincinnati that makes me feel confident that Alabama can win the national championship and go back-to-back for the first time since 2011, 2012. It's what Alabama didn't have to do. It was the fact that Alabama was able to go out there with mostly a spring game offense and really from the first drive on decide that if we can run the ball and if we can keep this pretty vanilla, then we can keep all of our good stuff in the playbook and we can continue to think about what we need to pick apart Georgia. I do think that Georgia is going to have a better response and a better game plan to try to slow Bryce Young. I don't think that Bryce Young is going to throw for 421 yards, but I still think that we are talking about the one player at the most important position on the field who can have a bigger impact on the game and the national championship than anyone else. And so in a game that I do think will be much closer and more competitive than the SEC championship game, I do think that Alabama will do the thing that's always so hard. I know it's tough to beat a team twice, but it's a lot easier to beat a team twice when you're Alabama.
Chip, it's tough to beat a team twice in the same season, Chip. And that's why I'm taking Georgia. I think that they're favored for a reason. I understand Alabama beat them up pretty badly in the SEC championship game, but it's important to remember that was the only time all season long Georgia even looked kind of vulnerable. And if we go back through the regular season, there were plenty of games where Alabama looked vulnerable. And I think in this rematch, one of the benefits that Georgia will take from that SEC championship loss is it knows what its weaknesses are against that Alabama offense. It knows what it has to fix. Meanwhile, Alabama has to come up with an entirely new game plan because if they go back to what they used the first time, Georgia can stop it. So I think that actually gives the Bulldogs a slight advantage in what I expect to be another close game. And if I do have any fear, there is like this creeping suspicion that maybe it's a mental block with Georgia when it comes to Alabama. Maybe when they look across that sideline and they see the Crimson Tide, they're not exactly sure they can beat them. Whereas when they look at any other team, they realize they can destroy them. And we saw that against Michigan in the Orange Bowl, where they just realized they were the better team from the start, went out and dominated that entire game. So maybe that's there. But like Chip said, I do expect this game to be a lot closer than the first meeting. I also expect it to be quite a bit lower scoring than the first game. And the other difference, I expect Georgia to win this time, to win its first national title since 1983 and cover the spread.
Chip Patterson and Tom Fornelli talking about the Natty with us here on HQ. Tom, congratulations. You made it through your flu game. Go get some rest. Here are their picks. Early picks. We know a lot of things can change between now and the national title game. It's a week from Monday. The title game will be played at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Chip likes Alabama. Tom's going the other way, taking Georgia. They are the favorites.